Why doesn't my camera work? It's always something. Hello, everybody. You go fix my camera. There we are. How's it going? Me and Douglas, I'm the author of this website, Tech Interview Guide. Welcome to the stream. Let me tip this up slightly. There we go. Hello. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for swinging by, dropping by. Good to see everybody. Yeah, going to be kind of a quiet night. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I was going to be streaming tonight. It was kind of a last minute decision. Had a whole bunch of stuff going on. Had an appointment to go to for one of my kids, and just been running a little ragged today. Not feeling 100%. But for those of you that have been hanging out on Discord, you'll notice I've got a ton of new questions in the anonymous questions category. So I wanted to do a whole bunch of Q&A tonight. So if you happen by, feel free to drop questions. They'll show up over here in the on the website or on the chat interface. And this will be going up on YouTube later. So always appreciate everybody that goes back and views that on YouTube later on. Drop some links in here for that. If you want to go, if you haven't been over to the YouTube channel, I encourage you, please go follow me over there as well. It'll let me monetize, and we'll just increase this whole diversity in tech fundraiser that much faster if I can monetize some things over at YouTube. Not that I do this to make money. It's all going into this pot. You all know kind of how I feel about making money as a streamer. All that's going 100% into that pool of money. We're up to 175 bucks already since the end of June. So it's pretty fantastic. If we can do 175 bucks a month, let's see, 175 bucks a month for the 6 months. We're gonna get pretty close to that $1,500, I think. Let me go do actual math here. If we can get 175 bucks a month for 6 months, that'd be about $1,000. So it won't quite be the $1,500 that we're aiming for, but I'm really hoping that the fundraiser that we're going to kick in February is going to be there. We'll get us that $1,500 by the end of the year. So we'll see if we can keep this going. That'd be fantastic. Part of what really boosted this up was the giveaway we did last week. A couple of folks that were selected as giveaway winners, they turned around, they donated the money back into the Diversity in Tech fundraiser. So big thank you to those folks. Let's see what else has been going on. One of the dragons that I sent over to Europe back in May. Is that May? Yeah, in May. I sent a big box of them over to a colleague in Germany. He mailed them out. One of them came back that it was unclaimed. So I need to go track that person down. There were also a few people that I reached out to last week to say, hey, you were selected in the giveaway. These are the prizes you can pick from. Some people didn't respond, which is interesting. The two people that got the 3D printers, they responded right away. I think the Cobra got delivered today. The resin printer got delivered Monday. And a lot of the gift cards got sent out. One of the gift cards got donated back. Actually, sorry, two of the gift cards got donated back. So super happy about that. Again, I'm matching all the money that goes into that. So cool. So yeah, I think Cobra winner here. What's up, S Dragoon? Good to see you. Did it come in today? I think it was supposed to be delivered today. Did it actually show up for you today? I'm curious. Well, it got delayed. Comes tomorrow. Darn. All right. Well, I mean, I think you're gonna really like it. Did you have a chance to order another spool of filament though? Because the filament sample that you're getting with it is quite small. You'll be able to print a couple of small things, like you'll definitely be able to print the little owl that comes on the SD card. You'll probably get to print like maybe 2 or 3 of those at most, and then you're gonna run out of filament. So hopefully you had a chance to order some filament for that as well. But definitely go check out a ton of other streamers here on Twitch, because they're constantly giving filament away. They got sponsored by companies like Polymaker and some others. So there's a handful of folks on Twitch that regularly do filament giveaways. You ordered some on Amazon? Awesome. That's cool. Yeah. And you know, again, you don't have to get like super expensive filament, you know, just to get started, but you don't want to go super cheap either. You don't want to buy like $10, $15 filament, because the lower the quality, then the worse the print is, and you're just going to get frustrated. But you also don't want to go super expensive. I mean, the prints will come out really, really nice, but for the amount of money, something in the $20, $25 range would be great, just to get you started, get used to it, and then you end up with a giant, rack of filament. I look over at that every now and then and chuckle. I've got easily 100 spools of filament, just sitting around on the desk like this, just literally sitting around. I've got stacks on a chair over here, 2 stacks on the chair, a stack under the chair, a stack beside the chair. I've got a stack behind the chair. I've got a little cabinet over there. I've got a big cabinet over here. Like, I've got over 100 spools of filament. I was on the Loyal Moses stream the other day, and I got selected for another giveaway. So I got like a roll of like bright yellow filament showing up too. So anyway, do people start businesses with printers like the Cobra? You can. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. You do need to be careful though about the models that you download and print. The models that you download may not allow you to commercially sell what you print. Like even some of the stuff that my kids have gotten into, like these little fidget cubes and stuff like that. I've usually got like 1 or 2 of these things nearby all the time. Some of these are marked as like non-commercial, which means you can print as many of them as you want for yourself and for friends and for family, but you can't get money for it. If they pay you money, you are now considered a commercial entity, and that's going against the license of them providing the thing for free. But even buying the model doesn't necessarily give you a license to sell it either. So you do need to be careful about that. So you do want to check wherever you download the models of the things that you 3D print with that printer that you got last week. You want to check the licensing, and it'll usually be pretty clear. It'll have like a $sign, or it'll have a $sign with a line through it, and that'll tell you whether or not you're allowed to sell the thing. You can also reach out to the person who designed the model and say, like, and I've done this in the past, like, hey, my kids have this winter carnival coming up. We're only going to print like 20 or 30 of these. Would it be cool if they get like 50 cents each? And I have yet to ever have anybody decline my kids selling them. But I'm sure if I were like mass producing them and putting them on Etsy and things like that, I'm sure people would have things to say. But yeah, you can absolutely start. You can start a business around that. It can be a little bit difficult because there's a lot of competition now, because 3D printing is starting to kind of pick up popularity. But yeah, you can absolutely make money 3D printing. Cool. Well, hello to everybody else dropping by. I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of this website. And we got a whole bunch of questions in the Anonymous Questions channel over on Discord. If you want to hang out over on Discord, here's the link. You can come hang out with us over there. Growing community over there. We get occasional questions dropping in there. But I want to go through a whole bunch of Q&A tonight and basically just record some new segments. Everything that I had sort of processed back into like late April, early May, those have all come out on the audio podcast as well as the YouTube, like shorter videos. And those are going to end next week, I think. So I think what I want to do is I want to get into more regular Q&A cycles where I'm doing more Q&A just so I can keep those things going all the time. It'll keep eyeballs coming in on the YouTube channel, things like that. But if you have a minute, if you can go over to YouTube real quick and follow me over on YouTube, or subscribe, I guess, over there. It's free to subscribe on YouTube. It's not free to subscribe on Twitch. You can follow me on Twitch for free. But if you subscribe over on YouTube, it'll raise up the user count. Once I get over 1,000, I can start monetizing the videos over there. Not that I want to do ads, but all that's just going to continue to allow our diversity in tech fundraiser to continue to grow. And that's really my goal, is really to raise that money and give that money away. So it's not that I'm anxious to start, putting ads on things, but the people that happen to come by YouTube, I think I can go in and I can tell it which ones to put ads on more than others. Similar to how I might put like ad tags on like old blog articles that I've written that still get tons and tons of traction on my Ian Douglas website. I'll put ads on the ones that constantly get traffic, and so I make like $1 a month, if that, on website ads. But it's the principle. Like once you hit 1,000, then they'll also start marketing you a little bit more. as well. So it helps with SEO and all that kind of stuff on YouTube. So if you can go give me a follow over on YouTube, I would appreciate it as well. All the videos that I make here on Twitch go over to YouTube. I was going to start live streaming on YouTube and Twitch at the same time, but until we get to that 1,000 people, YouTube doesn't promote when I go live. Like, they're not promoting it as heavily when I go live on YouTube. When I did the giveaway last week, we had exactly 0 people on YouTube come by and watch, which isn't a huge negative thing, but it's going to take a while to kind of build up the audience on YouTube. So Twitch is going to remain my primary sort of channel. So never fear, I will always be around Twitch. Epiccat says, no question from me today, but wanted to say you got the job. You got the job. Woo! Yeah, you got the job. That's amazing. I would love to hear about your interviews. I would love to hear about the offer, all that kind of stuff. Do you want help negotiating on the offer, anything like that? Or did you even negotiate? You better say yes. I hope you negotiated. Everybody needs to negotiate when you get a job offer. But Epiccat, that is fantastic. I am so happy for you that you got a job, that you got the job offer. That's fantastic. That's really, really good news. Thank you for sharing that. Enjoy getting advice from your stream. I enjoy having you here. It's honestly great. You've asked some really, really good questions. Bill and Tornado, thanks for the first time chat. I'll give you some blinky lights here. I have a question. What skills should you learn on your own time that would be expected to land a first-time job or an internship outside of just the programming? Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Let me think on that one for a minute. So just for clarification, besides just having a programming language, you're asking what other kinds of skills would make you sort of stand out as a candidate for an internship type of role? Is that what you're asking, Belland? No need to negotiate for this role, but you will. There's always a need to negotiate. You're leaving money on the table if you don't negotiate. It was the first job you applied to. You're very lucky. That's fantastic. You should always negotiate, though. Companies do expect you to negotiate. If they ask how much you want to make and you give them a range, and even if their offer comes in on that range, you can still negotiate. Even if they offer you more than what you said you wanted, you can still negotiate. Because you're bringing skills. You're bringing skills to the game. You can always negotiate. But congrats. That's really, really good news. So Belland, I'm just trying to think through your question a little bit more. What skills would you need to learn on your own time that would be expected to land a first-time job or internship outside of just the programming language, I'm guessing? I probably need a little bit more clarification on your question. I'd love to answer it. Which tools would be expected, or which other software to be familiar with, such as SQL? I'm a student, so I feel like I might be missing what's used in actual workplaces. Okay, let's do a clip on this. So you're gonna see some stuff happen over here in the chat, and that's just me setting a start and end timer, basically, so I can post-process the video, and it's gonna clip this out for a shorter YouTube video as well as the podcast audio. So bear with me as I get all that running over here. We had a good question come in from chat. It says, what skills should you learn on your own time that would be expected to land a first-time job or internship outside of just the programming? And then went on to clarify, for example, which tools would be expected or which other software should you be familiar with, such as SQL. I'm a student, so I feel like I might be missing what's used in the actual workplace. It's a fantastic question. The more skills and tools that you have, the more you're going to stand out as a candidate compared to other new students. At the same time, I want to caution, you shouldn't feel like you have to know all the things before you even apply for that job. A lot of companies are going to recognize that when you are new in the industry, you're going to have a lot of things to learn, and that's totally okay. They know that they're going to be training you on things, and that's okay. You shouldn't feel like you have to know everything just to go get that job. It would be like me, combing my hair and styling up my hair just to go get a haircut. It's you don't have to. I mean, that's kind of their job to some degree, is to train you and to build you into the type of software developer that they want on their team. At the same time, you will stand out a little bit more the more of these tools that you know. The caution that I tend to give on the channel here, on the live stream, is you don't want to expand your breadth of knowledge too early in your career, and you do want to go fairly deep on the knowledge of the things that you do know. So whatever programming language you know, you want to know that really well. Whatever framework you've learned, you want to know that really well. But there are other tools that are absolutely used every day on the job that will be beneficial. I don't think it would be a showstopper, as we would call it, if you don't have that skill. So things that I'm thinking of that you're going to use on a very regular basis would be things like Git. Using the terminal, like understanding how to work in like a command line shell. Having a good understanding of some of those shell commands is going to be helpful. Knowing how to use Git on a command line is going to be helpful. Knowing how to start and stop like web servers and web services and things like that will be helpful. I was hanging out on a stream the other day and they were talking about like, you know, you have to know Docker and you have to know this technology and you have to know about caching and you have to know this and you have to know that and you have to know 15 other things. And I'm like, you just stopped, like single-handedly, you just stopped a whole bunch of people from ever applying for a job because they feel that they've got to go learn all of these things just to go get a job. And that's not the case. You can get a job with just programming skills where all you know is a programming language and a framework, you know, whether it's front end or back end, knowing a little bit about APIs, maybe a little bit about databases, maybe a little bit about Git, but you don't have to be a super expert on things. They know that you're an entry-level dev, and that's okay. That's the expectation that when they're interviewing you, they're finding the limits of your knowledge. That's their job as the interviewer. And then from there, they're trying to figure out, okay, the skills that you do have, how do they fit in on the team? Is this really what we're looking for on the team? What kind of help and support are we going to need to give? And then they're going to compare you against every other applicant and say, okay, this person needs this much support. This person needs this much support. Person A brings this kind of skill. Person B brings that kind of skill. Who do we want on the team? And then they make that decision. I think it's important, though, that it's understood that they know that they're going to have things to teach you. And they want to make sure that they've got the right kind of people on the team to offer the support that you're going to need to get that job and to do well at that job. If they hire you and you don't have a bunch of skill and they give you a bunch of work with an expectation that you're going to be able to learn that stuff completely on your own, to some degree, they're setting you up for failure. But you do need to have initiative. You do need to be able to go and learn things on your own, but you also need to have the support there that when you need help, you can get help. So as far as the other tools, I listed a few. So mentioning Git, mentioning Shell, like the terminal, or if you're on Windows, like, you know, using PowerShell or the command prompt would be helpful. But on Linux and Mac, knowing how to get into the terminal and being comfortable around going through directory structures, knowing how to, you know, process files and do simple things with files, like how to create a new file, how to create and remove directories, how to list files, how to go locate files, just some basic, you know, sort of entry kinds of things for Linux or Unix type prompts is gonna do very well for you. Git, I think, is going to be more and more an expectation on the job. If you don't know Git, I think you're going to be at a disadvantage, frankly. I think Git is such a used tool. Like, it's used so much on the job nowadays. And whether it's like GitHub or Bitbucket or you know, like how and where they sort of store the Git repositories is going to vary from company to company. They may host their own. They may have it on GitHub. They may not be on GitHub for reasons. They may put it on Bitbucket or somewhere else. Or they may not use anything at all. But if you at least have an understanding of what Git is and why Git is used, then I think you're going to be able to adapt to whatever else they might be using, whether it's Mercurial or Subversion or whatever. But Git is by far the most popular one these days. From there, I mean, other things that would put you at an advantage would be things like software testing, being able to write a little bit of documentation and understanding a little bit of like system communication, like how does this service talk to this service? Like what's that transport layer besides just being JSON? Like how is it actually transported and things like that? But again, that's starting to get into more deep technological things that, when you start listing all that stuff out, people are like, oh, clearly I'm not ready. I need to go spend another 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months learning all of that before I'm going to be ready to even apply for a job. No, you can go apply for the job now. Companies will train you on what you don't know, but they need to know that you have value that you bring to them. And that's what you need to communicate most in the interview, that you have value, you're bringing it to them, you can learn things quickly, you are coachable and you are teachable and you are confident in what you know that you don't know everything. That's all you need to present in that interview. So please don't feel that you've got to go look at these lists and say, you must know these 20 things to be a front-end developer. You must know these 50 things to be a full stack developer, because you'll never feel ready, because you get to like number 45 on that list of 50 and someone else is going to come out with a different list of 50 and you're going to find things on that list that you don't know either. And it's going to keep you from applying for jobs or feeling confident about applying for those jobs. All right. Hopefully you found that helpful. That's my take on it. It's dangerous, frankly, when you're trying to get into the industry to see those lists of like, you have to know these 20 things. They're basically gaslighting and gatekeeping at that point, saying you are not a developer unless you know these 20 things. And that can be very dangerous for our industry because it keeps people away. The other thing that I would probably mention that I didn't address in that answer is how much of this should you learn on your own time? If you've got a job, learn that stuff on the job. It's going to make you a more valuable employee. If you don't yet have a job in tech, then everything that you're learning is on your own time. And so there is a balance in there as far as how much you should learn and how much you should learn and how you should learn those things will vary a lot. Estragoon asked, would you say there's more money in coding or in IT? I mean, depending on which part of IT that you're talking about. If you're talking about like DevOps, you can make just as much money as coding. If you're talking IT where you're doing like desktop support, I think coding is going to pay more than that. Bill says, thanks so much. Really appreciate the thoughtful response. I'm getting in my own head about when to even start applying. Yep, never feel ready. I hear that a lot from a lot of people. Like, I just got to go learn one more thing and then I'm going to go apply for that job. It's like, no, apply for the job now. Like, just go apply for the job. Like, you can still keep learning, but apply for the job now. Otherwise, you're holding yourself back. There was a quote that I heard that I actually tweeted out a couple of weeks ago that said, like, tomorrow you'll have wished you started today, kind of thing. And it's basically like future you wishes that you had done that already. So just go do the thing. Like, you don't want to look back on life and go, oh, I wish that I had actually done that earlier in my life. I just go do the thing now. Life is short. Just go do the thing. Arth Vader, appreciate the follow. Thanks for that. Give you some blinky lights and hello. Welcome aboard. Hope you're doing well. I'm always curious how folks find the stream, but thanks for dropping by. Awesome. Well, let's go through some more questions. So if you've got questions like that, absolutely drop them in chat. If you would feel more comfortable asking anonymously, you can send a whisper over to my chat bot over here. You can send a whisper and it'll echo the message that you send. It'll echo it completely into chat. If it's more than 500 characters, it may not. So don't write me a whole paragraph. Try to be, concise with your question. If I need more context, then you can send another whisper and it'll show up as like additional context. But yeah, if you want to ask anonymously, you can. I also take questions on LinkedIn and Twitter. Excuse me. I use the same username on Twitter and LinkedIn as I do here on Twitch. So you can go find me on those platforms as Ian Douglas 736 as well. 736 is just a shout out to my wife. That's part of how we met a number of years ago, many years ago. Gosh, it's closing in on 20 years since we met. Next year will be 20 years since we met. But you can find me on those platforms. You can DM me on those platforms at any time. I will answer any question that you have. Or if you want to ask over on Discord, you can ask over on Discord as well. We have a small but growing Discord community. You can certainly ask questions over there. I will answer them to the best of my ability, but I may also bring your question over to the stream as well and answer, because I can do like little video clips and little audio clips and things like that for the podcast and things like that. So so I do like sharing knowledge with multiple people. I think it's important. And if you've got that question, I guarantee somebody else has a very similar question. And so if you're not comfortable though being on a live stream or asking a question publicly, that's why I built that whole anonymous bot thing that you can ask a question that way if you like. Estragoon said, so if I just got my cybersecurity cert and I'm currently in IT tier 2 desktop support, what's the best next step to get off the support side? Ooh, let's dig into that one a little bit. Another great question came in on chat. Initially asking what kind of job makes better salary, IT or coding, and then followed up and said, I just got my cybersecurity certification. I'm currently in IT tier 2 desktop support. What's the best next step to get out of support? I think if you've got cybersecurity, you understand the importance of security. Desktop support is going to be, I've got a problem with a printer, or I've got a problem accessing, files or setting up Active Directory and user authentication systems, on local area networks, typically within a business. From there, if you really want to get out of desktop support and you want to do something else, there are a handful of paths. And then the nice thing about the tech industry is you get to write your own adventure here. You can take whatever path you want, but it does take a little bit of preparation in between. So the preparation that you took to get like your cybersecurity certification, you can do similar types of certifications and learning like that to get into software development, or you can get into DevOps development as we discussed. So there are a handful of different paths that you can get into. Sorry, got kids running around upstairs. There are a number of different paths that you can get into. If you want to get into cybersecurity as a profession, you can certainly do that. Understanding a little bit about software development and software testing can be a big help there. Cybersecurity, depending on what kind of cybersecurity you did, can really open a lot of pathways as well around security screening and security tooling to find vulnerabilities and then turn around and give those vulnerabilities back to an engineering team saying, this is a list of problems that we found, you need to go fix these. And let them worry about how to fix it. But you can at least help them understand how you found them, why it's important that they fix them, what kinds of data breaches could happen because of that. So there's a lot of avenues that you can take around how to use just that cybersecurity. Given that you're already coming from a desktop support type of role, another avenue would be to get into like a customer support kind of role, where you're dealing more with like outward facing clients and not internal business users. So instead of, person A down the hall that's having a problem with the printer, you're actually on the phone or you're doing email support or something like that with someone else. Now, you did ask about getting out of support, but you can get into more technical companies where you are focusing on that customer support, and that's kind of your into that company, because you can say, hey, I want to expand. I want to, I like user empathy and I understand why it's important to do everything, on behalf of the end user and the end customer, whoever. And so I want to transfer that knowledge over here. If you've got that cybersecurity background, you could go get a support role at a cybersecurity company. Just as an example, it's a good blending of the skills you already have. Now, if customer support's not what you want to do long-term, which I get, then you can absolutely transition it into something else. What I typically say on the channel, though, on the live stream, is to get a job doing something that you haven't done yet, you need to show them that you can do that job. And so if you really want to get a job where you want to get into software development, you can absolutely do that, but you're going to need to build a few software projects to show them that you can write software. If you want to get into web development, you need to build a few little web projects to show them that you can do web development. It's rare for a company to say, oh, you've got cybersecurity and desktop, but you want to become a mobile game developer. You have zero experience with that. Sure, we'll hire you and train you on absolutely everything. Most companies aren't going to do that, especially with the economy the way it is right now. They're going to be a lot more careful about who they hire. And so you have to show that you've got some amount of skill for the kind of job that they're hiring for to even get the job, if that makes sense. You need to show them that you can do some of the job. Our industry is one of the few industries where you have to demonstrate the skill in order to get the job. So they're going to ask for some kind of demonstration. They're going to ask you to write some software or write a little web application or build an API or whatever the role is. If you're in developer relations, developer advocacy, you might have to give a little technical talk or work in their community for a little while, just so they get a sense of how well you can talk to community members and things like that. So lots of ways that you're going to have to demonstrate that skill. And so if you don't currently have that skill, you're going to have to practice that skill enough to get through an interview. There are lots of courses out there, though. There are like tons and tons of resources out there to learn software development, web development. Data structures and algorithms is kind of a common topic that we talk about as far as interview preparation goes. Those are kind of the building blocks to some degree of software development. An algorithm these are the steps that you have to take to accomplish a goal. So an algorithm, to kind of translate that into everyday terms, if I tell my kids, go clean your room, they know what all those steps mean. It means pick up all the books off the floor, put them on the bookshelf, pick up all the dirty laundry, put it in a hamper, put all your clean laundry away in your dressers, fold your socks, fold your shirts, put them away. It means make your bed. It means tidy up the floor. So I can just give them an instruction saying, go clean your room, and they know the other steps to go do. An algorithm is basically the same way. If I say, go do a binary search on this array and try to, tell me if the number 4 exists in there, that's an algorithm. And you have to know the steps to follow in the right order for things to happen. So for example, I can't tell my kids vacuum the floor if I haven't told them first that they have to pick everything up off the floor, because you can't vacuum over the books and you can't vacuum up the socks. So you have to pick all that stuff up and then you can vacuum. And so a lot of algorithmic thinking is knowing what order to do something in. Same thing with data structures. That's basically how we store things in memory, and knowing which data structure to use can be important. So there's lots of material out there that you can go learn those kinds of things, depending on which avenue you want to take in the tech industry, because again, there's lots of different kinds of roles and how you can blend your existing skills into something else that you want to learn. And so by applying to a company, where you've got cybersecurity as a background, now you've got that certification. If you go learn a little bit of software development, now you can be like a secure software developer, or teach them like, hey, I know a little bit about software development. I know a whole lot more about cybersecurity. Why don't I come in and teach your team why it's important to secure their code, how to secure their code? And you can speak to them on that sort of lingo a little bit, because they're going to understand what you mean when you talk about, passing parameters into functions and so on. So there's certainly lots of information out there that you can go learn, and but it does depend on the avenue that you want to take. The good news is there's lots of avenues, and you get to choose. You get to kind of write the course of your own history of where you want to go. So some follow-up questions. What are your thoughts about all the people online telling people to do tech boot camps and that they'll make $100K startup? LOL. Some of them are true. So it's not necessarily an LOL. Some of these boot camps and programs, they absolutely can make you really good salaries. I taught at one that was a 7-month program here in the Denver region. It's online now. It's Turing.edu. Their average starting salary when you get out of their 7-month program is almost $90K. It does depend on location and region and what kind of job you're going to get. But yeah, you can totally make $100K getting out of some of these programs. I want to caution you though, it's really rare though to go to like a 10, 12 week boot camp and make that kind of money, unless you've also got a background doing something else which is highly relevant to the company where you're applying for a job. The fact that you're bringing other skills will also increase your starting salary, because you're bringing additional value to a role, to a company, beyond just whatever software development skills you learn at a boot camp. But yes, some boot camps, you do have to be careful about who they are and what they advertise and how they claim these kinds of salaries. Some of them will also skew, like we had one lucky person out of 1,000 people that came to our school. We had one lucky person go get a FANG job, and that really raises their average. So yeah, our average salary is $100,000 because they made, $250,000 and it lifted that average up. You have to look out for those outliers. But yeah, so looking at other follow-up questions that you had, like with zero prior knowledge to get that kind of salary, absolutely yes. I've taught at that school. I taught at that school for 4 years, and we had people come in who had never done any kind of programming before, go out and get jobs anywhere from 70K to 90K on average. They were making like 80, 85K, and that average has gone up over time. It's close to 90K now from that school. That school is accredited, and they also turn all of their records over to another organization to actually audit. And so all of their claims of this is how many people actually graduate, this is how many people actually get technical jobs, this is the average starting salary, they turn all of that over to another group to audit and verify that, yes, that information is actually accurate. A lot of schools don't do that. They just kind of make up their own numbers or fake their own numbers a little bit, or they'll hire their students back as instructors and say, oh yeah, they totally got work in the tech industry, when all they're doing is turning around and they're like a teaching assistant basically. And they're not actually working as a programmer. But it's considered a technical job, according to that school. So you have to be really careful about reading the fine print and looking at reviews and things like that. But yeah, there are a lot of ways out of that kind of role, from desktop support into lots of other kinds of roles. The fact that you've got a little bit of technical knowledge and you've got the certification in cybersecurity is going to go a long way for you. You just have to figure out from there, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to take your career? What do you want to do with these skills, with these superpowers that you have? What kind of superhero do you want to be? And then head in that direction. You might find out in a year you don't like it, and you can change to something else. There's nothing wrong with that. The tech industry, you're going to be constantly learning and constantly shifting and changing, and that's okay. Like, the first job doesn't have to be your dream job, and the first job doesn't have to be a forever job. You can change jobs and you can change from company to company. That's okay. But you have to make that choice. You have to advocate for yourself, and you have to figure out what it is you want to do, and you can absolutely chase that dream for sure. Awesome. Thanks for that question. Foamy, good to see you in chat as well. I'll give you some blinky lights for first time chat. Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for dropping by. But yeah, I hear where you're coming from. Like, there are a lot of schools that make claims on, oh yeah, come to our school and you're gonna get a FANG job. It's like, no. It's like they claim you can get a FANG job because like one of their students got a FANG job. But also I want to caution that you don't have to get a job at a FANG company, at one of the top 10, 15, top 25 tech companies in the industry to feel like a success. You can go get any job where you're doing programming, where you're happy doing what you're doing. Sure, maybe you're not making 300K a year. Guess what? Neither am I, and I've been doing this for 26 years. But I do that on purpose. Like, right now, I don't want to go get a job at a FANG company. I used to want to, and I'm kind of in a spot in life right now where I'm like, nah, I'd rather work at a smaller company where I can see that impact, and I can see the benefit of working in a smaller team within a smaller company. Now, granted, I work at Postman right now, and we're over 600 people, so it's grown pretty big. But I still really like it there. My team is quite small, and we're a very tight-knit team, and we help each other out all the time. And we're still doing programming. We're doing lots of technical knowledge and technical deep dives on things. We're constantly learning. Lots of stuff going on. Damn KitKat Raiden with 13. Well, hello there, everybody.
Hello there.
Hope you're all doing good. Welcome. Damn KitKat, good to see you in chat. It was nice to drop by and hang out on your stream a little bit earlier this afternoon. Obi-Wan, yeah, that's right. Cool, well, welcome aboard. I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of this website, Tech Interview Guide, and I help people out with career advice and interview prep and how to go get that job in tech. Everybody from, I've never touched a computer before and I'm curious about programming, all the way through to folks like me who have been in the industry for a long time. I've been doing this for 26 years. I've been an engineering manager, been a director of engineering. I've done a lot of things. I've been in software education. I've done lots and lots of different kinds of roles in and around like IT and programming and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I love just helping people out, and I got blinky lights and all kinds of stuff here. So welcome aboard. We'll give everybody some blinky lights and some sort of hello. Thanks for dropping by. It's always fun having new friends come by. Thank you for the follows. We're constantly raising money for a diversity in tech fundraiser. As a white dude in tech, I feel it's important to lift up other people and other communities. And so we're constantly raising money for this. At the end of the year, we're going to give all this money away to a registered charity in the United States whose primary mission it is to increase diversity in tech. And that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. And so any bits, any subs, any gift subs, anything along those lines, Prime subs, I don't keep a dime of that money. It's all going into this pot, and then I'm matching all of this money as well. So you can do !money if you want to go see the website and go check out everything there, or you can just go over to Tech Interview Guide and you'll see a link over on the side about financial transparency, where I basically break down, here's all the money I make as a streamer, and then I'm matching all that money. And so we're up to $175 in a little over a month, which has been fantastic. If we can do that through the end of the year, that'll be $1,000 alone. I'd love to get to $1,500. So we're going to be doing like big giveaways again in October. We'll be giving away some kind of 3D printed kind of thing. We did 3D printed dragons back in May, and we raised about $5,000. Well, exactly $5,000 actually to give away to a group in San Francisco that we gave away at the end of June. And then we came back and we reset everything, and we're raising a whole new batch of money. And so it's been really fantastic. I love it. So thanks for all the first time chats. Hello. Didn't think I had the emotes. It all just shows up as text for me. So, but thanks for dropping by. Appreciate that, Sam. Hope that your stream went well. What else was going on in your stream? When I was hanging out earlier, I think you were looking through like a to-do list kind of thing. You were trying to figure out a to-do list or something like that. So hopefully that worked out. I had kind of a weird off day. It started out good, and then I started feeling really ill, and so I wasn't sure if I was going to stream. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stream anyway. Just going to do a bunch of Q&A. We've had some really good questions in chat so far. If you'd like to ask any kind of question about interview prep or career prep, feel free to drop it over in chat. If you want to ask anonymously, you can send a whisper over to my bot. If you send a whisper, it'll show up in chat as an anonymous question. So if you will feel safer asking a question that way, you're absolutely welcome to do that. I've also got a whole YouTube archive of previous videos. So all the videos that I record here on Twitch go up on YouTube later on. And I also clip out little questions. So as a question gets asked and I answer it, I'll go back and I'll clip out that into smaller videos. And so there's lots of playlists on there. So if you want to go listen to other people's questions about how do I make a resume, what kinds of things should I put on a resume, I've got a whole resume playlist. If you're curious about how to get through the interviews and what you need to learn for an interview, there's a whole playlist on that kind of stuff as well. Behavioral questions, technical questions, all that stuff. So lots and lots of playlists over on YouTube. I would appreciate any subscriptions over on YouTube as well. It's free. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 users, because then like the search engine optimization really kicks in at that point. And then I'll stream live on Twitch and YouTube once I get to 1,000 followers on YouTube. So if you followed me here, I'd appreciate a follow over on YouTube as well. Hope you feel better soon. Yeah, thanks. Oh, you figured out the Notion thing. Awesome. Yeah, you were playing around with Notion. Published a link in your bio page today. Sweet. Good job. Good job. We had Epicat drop by earlier. Epicat got a job, so we're super excited for Epicat. Got a job offer at least. So trying to convince them to do some negotiations now on that job offer. But you don't have to negotiate, but I encourage everybody to negotiate. If you don't advocate for yourself, nobody else will. So it's really important that you negotiate any kind of offer that you get. Even if the offer comes in on the high side of what you were asking for, you should still negotiate a little bit. Usually 5 to 10% on whatever they offer is totally okay. Elwood J. Finley says, I have 3 semesters left. What's the most important thing I need to know about tech interviews right now? Good question. A lot of people are going to tell you to grind on LeetCode, and I say that's BS. You don't necessarily have to just grind on LeetCode. What really stands out is the skills that you bring to the company and how you talk about the value that you bring, and the fact that you are coachable and teachable and likable, and that you're going to get along great on the team. that's going to go just as far for you in the technical interview as being able to code. If you don't do well on a coding assignment, that's not the end of the world. And that coding assignment could be anywhere from like, demonstrate your programming skill, like sit through this 1 hour, technical challenge, or it might be like a take-home assignment where they're like, go build a little application that does such and such. But if you don't do well on that, if you are still likable and coachable and teachable, and you bring lots of other value to the company, that can be just as good as being able to code. At the same time, you can be the best coder and the most brilliant person in the world, and if you're kind of an arrogant jerk about it, they're not going to want to hire you either. And so a lot of it comes down to attitude and how likable you are, and for an entry-level developer, it's really about your process. It really comes down to your process there. Just ignore this for a sec because I want to keep chatting about all this. So it really comes down to your process of how do you break a problem down? How do you talk about the communication aspect of like, these are the steps that I would do. This is what I'm going to do next. This is how I'm going to plan out my work. And then you actually go build that work and you talk through it. That's going to go a long way for you as well. But a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, just go grind on LeetCode. Go do 500 LeetCode problems or 1,000 LeetCode problems. You can do LeetCode all day, every day for months and months and months. And it's not necessarily going to get you through an interview when they start hitting you with behavioral questions about, tell me about a time that you disagreed with a coworker. It's like, well, I'm fresh out of school. I never really had a coworker, and you don't know how to answer that question. So you also need to practice those kinds of things. I do have an email series that you can go subscribe to. It's free. There's no ads. There's no promotions or anything like that. It's 6 weeks long. And when you get the last message, it automatically unsubscribes you and you'll never hear from it again. And I cover everything from technical questions to behavioral questions to, just general knowledge kinds of things and how to get through interviews. But a lot of what I present in that email series is not, here's how to go answer that question perfectly. Having been a hiring manager, what I did is I wrote up that series as, here's what's going through my mind as a hiring manager. This is what I hope you're going to tell me. This is what I hope you're going to say. This is what I hope you're not going to say. This is why this question is even important to my company in the first place. Because I hadn't found any resources out there about that. But there are a ton of resources on, here's a question about, tell me about yourself. Here's how to answer it perfectly. Sure, there's lots of advice out there about how to answer that perfectly. There's not a lot of advice out there as to why we even ask you that question. Like, what is it that we really want to know? We don't want your life story. I want you to reiterate the value that you bring to me and my company, why you chose to apply at my company beyond I need a paycheck and you had an open job. You need to show that you care about what we do as a business, who we serve as a company, all that kind of stuff. And so I would say having a good understanding of why companies ask those questions can help you frame your answers a little bit better, as opposed to make sure you talk about this, make sure you talk about this, make sure you talk about this. Knowing why it's important to them is going to be pretty crucial. The other thing too is being able to break a problem or a question down that they ask around, are they asking for my opinion on this, or are they asking about my experience with this particular technology or skill or something like that? That can be very beneficial as well. And so that's a lot of what I go through in that email series that you can check out. I've also got lots and lots of content on Tech Interview Guide, and you can go check out the YouTube videos as well. But I would say for getting through the interviews, I would say having a good process, being able to communicate well, are going to be really crucial, because they need to know in a hurry, is this somebody that I want to hire on my team? And they're going to make that judgment call pretty quickly, honestly. And once they make that judgment call, it's going to be hard to change their mind. It won't be impossible to change their mind. If you come in and you're like super likable and you're cracking jokes and they really, really like you and you can't code worth beans, then no, of course they're not going to hire you. But if you can code a little bit and you struggle, and that's okay. If you can say like, hey, you know what, I got a little bit hung up on this. Do you mind if I take some notes? Can you show me like what I should have done there, and show them that you can go learn from that? That shows a lot of growth mindset as well, that you don't panic and freeze up and go, oh, I'm garbage, I suck at this, and I'm no good and I shouldn't be a programmer. If you can use it as a growing learning opportunity around like, hey, I was able to do a lot of that. I got a little bit hung up on this thing. and ask them questions on how would you optimize that bit of code, or, it worked, but it ran kind of slow. Like, what would you do? Like, what would you do in the company here to speed that kind of thing up, and ask really good questions about that. Having good questions is also another important thing that I would always, always recommend. You go into that interview and you have good questions for them beyond what's your day-to-day like. You want to ask them specific things about their job, about their role, about how they fit in. You can ask about the company vision and the company culture and things like that. But you want to really stand out on that kind of stuff. And so asking really good questions is important. When I did my own job hunt back in December and January, I would often get to that point in the interview where they're going to ask, do you have any questions for me? I would ask them a question and they'd be like, oh, that's a good question. And it would literally stump them for like 10, 20 seconds while they thought of an answer for me. And again, that kind of stuff really makes you stand out. If you can do enough research on the company to know what's important to them, and you framed the questions for them around their company values and what they do as a company and how they do things as a company and what's important to them and how that person's role fits in and how long they've been there and why did they stay there and what do they like about the company, and how do you feel about this aspect of the company's vision, you're going to stump them. And that makes you memorable, and that makes them think like, this is pretty cool. Like, I think, this person deserves a callback. That's what's going to really stand out. So being memorable is important, but you do have to have technical skill, and you have to be able to demonstrate that skill. And even if you don't do well, that's okay. Showing that you have a growth mindset and go, yeah, I wasn't able to figure out that depth first search. I'm going to go back. I'm going to totally research that. Can I get your contact info? Because I'm totally going to dive in on this as soon as I get off this call. I'd love to touch base with you again, and just kind of share what I've learned about it. I've had people do that and then never follow up. I've had people do it and follow up, and those people always stick out in my mind. So. TacoFed, am I currently in the cohort? I am not currently in the cohort, no. I've been in the industry for a long time. I've been in the industry for about 26 years. I've been a hiring manager and a director of engineering. I've been a senior dev. I've been in all kinds of roles, from DevOps to DBA to literally racking servers and plugging in Ethernet cables, all the way up to front-end development and everything in between. I've done software education. I was a software teacher for 4 years. I currently am a developer advocate at Postman. So if anybody's familiar with the Postman tool, I work there. And I have a lot of respect for Leon and the 100 Devs team. That's why I flagged the 100 Devs on here, but I'm not currently in the cohort. I was in their Discord for a while, and I tried promoting that email series in the wrong channel, and they kicked me out. So I've tried appealing their decision to see if I can get back in, because I genuinely want to help people out. I wasn't doing it to try to over promote and over market myself and things like that. I'm just here to help people out. And so I try to offer a lot of advice around interview prep and career advancement, and how to do negotiations and how to build a resume and how to go get that job. And so while I don't necessarily teach the programming side of what 100 Devs does, I feel that a lot of the advice I give is very adjacent to what 100 Devs does. And I've also done consulting work and gone out and done freelance projects and things like that too. So I've got experience. I've got stories that I can tell. I love telling stories. I love sharing that experience with other people. And that's basically the whole nature of my live stream. My whole motto is share what you know and we all win. And so I love having people come by as well in chat and share their experiences as well, because I've had a set of lived experiences. You've had a different set of lived experiences, and those are all valid. And so I also love hearing from other people as well. Basically every Sunday through the end of September, we've got guests coming on the stream. I was supposed to have a guest tonight, but I wasn't sure if I was even going to stream because I wasn't feeling 100%. So I decided to cancel on them and say I don't even know if I'm going to stream, so we'll do it another time. And then I ended up streaming anyway. But maybe we'll have them on again in the future. But occasionally, like every other Thursday, we're going to have someone on the stream, but pretty much every Sunday, we're going to have some kind of guest on the stream who's coming from some kind of diverse background, or some other walk of life, some other area of technology other than just programming, because there's so much that you can get involved in the tech industry besides just sitting down and writing software all day long. And so I want to present a lot of those kinds of options to people too. Like there's developer relations, there's technical writing. We had Laura on the stream on Sunday, and we got into talk about like AI ethics and, you know, tools like, you know, GitHub Copilot, and where is it getting its sample code to learn and do its machine learning to suggest, you know, here's how you should write that next bit of code. It's actually borrowing other code from GitHub, which, yeah, it's public, but if you put all that code in your code, do you own that code? Because that code came from somewhere else. Like, who actually owns the code? Who owns the copyright on that code? Like, all that kind of stuff is very interesting. So you can actually go back and watch that if you want. It's up on YouTube as well. So what can I recommend for your resume? Step one, send me your resume. I love doing resume reviews. So you can go submit it over here, and I will do resume reviews from time to time. I think next Thursday, I'm trying to remember if I have somebody on the stream next Thursday. Let me go find out. Live streaming next Thursday. No guest plan next Thursday. So next Thursday, I will do resume reviews. How's that? So you send me in resumes, and I will review as many as come in. How's that? And I'll give you my take on it. As an engineering manager, as a hiring manager, I'll give you my take on your resume. So send it over, and I will do that next week. How's that? QC says, I want to send you my resume for review. Where can I send it? Do I really need to hide my personal data, or it's up to you? It's up to you. I do it on the live stream here. If you want a private review, you can, and you can see the thing here. I charge $50, and two things with that. The reason that I charge money for it is because it takes time out of my day. I actually record a private video for you where I go in and I show you what I would change, and then I share that Google document with you, so you've got lots of notes and things like that, and then I send you the video. But that $50 also goes into this whole diversity and tech fundraiser. I don't keep any of that money. In fact, that $50 that you pay me, I match that $50, and that's also going to go in that pot of money. So this $175 is just all of you collectively. I'm matching that with another $175. And so this isn't me combining, like whatever half of 175 is. This is just community money, and then I'm matching all this community money. And so that $50 goes into this pot. So I want to be really clear on that. Any bits, any subs, donations, resume reviews, all of that's going into this fundraiser. So if you want a private review, I'll do a private review. If you want a public review, it is up to you. It is live on the stream, and I do put the videos up on YouTube later. And so I generally tell people, like, you can keep your name on it if you want, but I really recommend don't keep your real phone number on there. Maybe don't put your real email address on there. If you want to put your GitHub and whatever on there, that's fine. That's totally up to you. If you want to keep your LinkedIn profile on your resume, that's okay. But I generally advise, like, for starters, your street address never belongs on a resume, so that shouldn't ever be on there regardless. But I really don't recommend having a real phone number on a resume, just because you don't know what people are going to do with that information. That's all. So I care a lot about your safety, and that's also why, like, when I do giveaways and stuff and they're over, I delete all that data, because I don't want that data either. I don't want people to find your data. I care a lot about data security and privacy and stuff like that. So I prefer if it's private, but I mean, if you don't care, then that's fine. Just send it in with a note saying, I choose not to make this anonymous. I think there's a checkbox on there saying I've either made it anonymous or I'm okay with it being live. And as long as you check that box, then that gives me permission then to show it on the stream. So I think I'm a programmer to list every language now. Yeah, all thousands of them. Yeah, and we were talking about that earlier too, that, some people are, they come up with these lists, like, if you want to be a front-end developer, you have to know these 20 things, or you have to, if you want to be a full-stack developer, you need to know these 50 things. And it keeps a lot of people from getting into the industry, and it keeps a lot of people from applying for jobs, because now they think, oh, well, unless I know all those things, I'm actually not a developer. And that's not true. There's so much to learn. You can learn a lot of it on the job. You can learn a lot of it on the side. It shouldn't hold you back from applying for that job in the first place. And so I would say, anytime you see those lists of, like, 20 things you must know to be X, take it with a grain of salt. There are skills you must have. Yes, you must know how to write software. You must know how to, work within whatever domain you're applying for a job. Like, if you're a mobile game developer, you should know about mobile development. You should know a little bit about game mechanics, but you don't have to be an expert at either one. If you want to get into web development, Yeah, you need some kind of programming language where you can do like either build an API or build out a front end. So yeah, you need to have some amount of programming skill. You're going to need some amount of either HTML or API development. But again, you don't have to be an expert at it, but you need to have some amount of knowledge in it. Otherwise, you're not bringing the full value to the company that they're going to expect in an interview. And so you're less likely to get the interview. If you can demonstrate that you have that skill by building out projects, that's totally okay. Project work is totally fine for that kind of stuff, but you shouldn't ever feel like you have to know all the things just to go apply for that job. Feels like you only need to know LeetCode. Nope, I disagree. I absolutely disagree. There's a smarter way to LeetCode, and you don't just have to grind on LeetCode. LeetCode may get you through some companies' interviews, but it is not going to help you on the job. If all you spend your time with, well, and this goes to anything, if all you spend your time on is just the programming language and you don't learn all the other tools, then you put yourself at a disadvantage. If you go learn like just LeetCode, that puts you in a disadvantage because there's so many other things you could be studying as well that are going to show and provide value to that company beyond just algorithmic thinking. Yeah, that's important for some companies, but I disagree that you know all you need is LeetCode. Nope, not at all. In my opinion, that's a poor stance. There's a smarter way of doing it where you can figure out, like, from the common, dozen or so patterns, what are the typical steps to solve a depth first search or a heap problem or a two-pointer problem. You understand those generalized concepts, that's going to allow you to figure out any problem out there. But then there are other things that you need to study. You need to study behavioral questions. You need to study tools like Git. You need to study how to access APIs. Grinding on LeetCode is not going to teach you Git. Grinding on LeetCode is not going to teach you API development or how to consume an API. Grinding on LeetCode is not going to teach you how to be a good team player. It's going to teach you strong algorithmic thinking and good data structure usage, yes, but that's not the only things that we're looking for when we're interviewing people. So I think it's important that you have kind of that well-rounded sort of set of experience as you're preparing for the interview, for sure. It doesn't help on the job, but there's so many places that only look for data structures and algorithms at interview stage. At one stage of the interview, yes, but that's not the only stage that you have to get through. You have to be able to get through all the other stages. Otherwise, what's the point? You could absolutely crush the technical aspect of it, but if you're a giant jerk and you're super arrogant and nobody wants to, have you on their team, which has happened to me at a job, then what was the point of all that grinding on LeetCode? You're not going to get the job anyway. You have to be likable. You have to be memorable in a good way. You have to be somebody that at the end of the day, when they get everybody together and they say, should we hire this person? Who wants them on their team? You want people raising their hand. We literally hired, we interviewed someone at a company where they were by far the smartest person in the room. They absolutely crushed every technical challenge that we gave them. And at the end of the day, we're like, who wants them on their team? Not a single person in that room raised their hand. And they all had the same answer. It's like they were the smartest person in the room. They knew it. They were arrogant about it. And it went against our company culture of happy, humble, honest, and hungry. They weren't very humble about it. They were a huge, giant jerk about it, and nobody wanted to hire them, so we didn't make an offer. So just having really strong technical knowledge, yes, is going to get you certain jobs. Other jobs, it's not going to be enough. Looks like we had an anonymous question come in, or a partial question. So let me double check if I missed the first part. I don't think I missed the first part. All I got was challenging, but I'm learning a lot and the people are great to work with. It's been a few months. I'm hoping that all continues. I think I missed part of that. The first part of it was way too long. So let me go summarize that. I did get the message. I've got it up on a different screen. Let me rephrase that a little bit, and then we'll get back into it. Thanks for the new follows, by the way. Give everybody some blinky lights while I go read this question real quick. I spoke to you a while back about moving from my old job, from my first full-time job to my next current job, and being anxious about taking the next role up in a new environment. You gave some good advice about how to handle the transition, good questions to ask at my new workplace, Just wanted to update you that I did take the job. It's been a few months and I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely more challenging, but I'm learning a lot and the people are great to work with. It's only been a few months, but I'm hoping that all continues. Thanks a ton for your help. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for sending over that message. Even though it was sent anonymously, I love getting messages like that. It's encouraging to me, but also letting other people in the stream see that, you know, hanging out here and helping each other out and sharing our knowledge helps us all out. So I appreciate that. Thank you for sending that message over. I appreciate that to the anonymous person who sent that over. Thank you for that. Thank you for the reminder as well to hydrate. I'm almost out of this drink. Can't tell you what I'm drinking, but I can give you a big hint. And yes, I tell that joke a lot on the stream because I'm a big fan of hint water. But I've also got a Dr. Pepper. I usually don't drink soda on the stream though because it makes me burp. But I can have some anyway. Jim Fike, just lurking for now. No problem. Thanks for lurking. Yeah, soda makes me burp, and I'm sure you're not all here for, what do they call it, ASMR, you know, where I'm like belching in the microphone. That's probably not what you're here for. So yeah, I'm actually gonna go get another hint water. I'll be right back. All right. More hint. Cool. So yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying with the whole LeetCode thing. Like there is a smarter way of doing LeetCode, and I've actually got a couple of YouTube videos that you can go check out if you want my take on how to do LeetCode smarter. I've got a couple of videos that you can go watch here. The first one is how do you come up with a schedule where you're constantly rotating through patterns of problems, where it's not just let me go pick one at random and try and solve it, but you're being more methodical about it. Like today is depth first search day. I'm going to go do at least 1 or 2 depth first search problems. Tomorrow is heap. The day after that is 2-pointer. The day after that is sliding window, where you work out like a schedule of this is when I'm doing these patterns, and then rotate that on a regular basis. You also need to give your brain a break. You also need to rest your brain from time to time and take a day off. And when I tell people that, they're like, well, but I want to keep grinding. It's like, okay, well, what I mean by that is go to LeetCode, but you're not there to solve a problem. What you want to do then is after you do like work through the rotation, do a couple of depth first search, do a couple of heap problems, do a couple of 2-pointer problems, and so on. When you take break day, what your break day is you just go and at that point you pull up a random question on LeetCode where you don't know what the pattern is. And all you're going to do is you're going to identify what is the pattern of that problem. You're just going to read through the prompt and go, this is depth first search. Go look at the answers that other people have written and confirm it's a depth first search. And then go pick up another one at random and go, this one sounds like a 2-pointer problem. Go look at the answer and go, oh, it's sliding window. How did I miss that? Like what was in the prompt that I missed that it was a sliding window thing? And that's all you're going to do. You're not actually going to solve the problem, but you want to look at the prompt and get your brain to say, this looks like this pattern of problem, and then go confirm whether that's right or not. That's your break day. But on all the other days, you're actually going to go solve those problems. And then the second video that I've got is how do you reverse engineer other people's answers so that you can summarize the strategy of how to solve that type of problem. So how do I solve a depth first search? How do I solve a heap problem? How do I solve, whatever, binary search, type of problems? There's about a dozen common patterns. And what you want to do is you want to figure out what are the 4 lines or 6 lines of code, like just super high level pseudocode, not like the actual code that you would write, but just really high level, like a depth first search. You loop over a decision, you act on a decision, you recurse if you're going to do recursion. And then when you get back from that, you undo that decision and you go make another decision. That's every backtracking algorithm in 4 steps. And it's commonly applied in a depth first search type of way. But that's every backtracking problem. You want to solve a maze? You have a list of directions you can go. You act on a direction, you walk to a next intersection, and you repeat all that work, and you do those 3 steps again. If you get to a dead end, you walk back to a previous intersection, and you move on to the next direction that you would have taken. So that's every backtracking algorithm in 4 steps. Write that on a Post-it note, put it on the edge of your monitor, and now as you're going through other problems, you're like, this sounds like a backtracking problem. How do I do backtracking? You glance up, and these are the 4 steps, and then you fill in all the other code that you need. Boom. That's where you want to get to in a tech interview. You want to be able to see a prompt and go, this is a depth first search problem. These are the 4 steps I need to take for a depth first search or a backtracking problem, and then go solve the problem. It's going to get you to at least 50, 60% of the answer like that. So that's a smarter way of doing elite code. Just sitting and grinding 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 some more, it'll help to some degree. But unless you're strategic about going in and understanding what is the pattern of the problem, how do I solve the pattern of this problem, and then how do I remember that, then all you're doing is grinding. If you are smarter about it, you're going to get results faster. Just like working out at a gym. If like I can go to the gym and I can just, push weight and push weight and push weight and push weight. Am I going to build muscle? Sure. Am I going to build the right kind of muscle? Maybe. Am I going to look, super toned like a bodybuilder? No, not even close, because I don't know what to do or why. I know I put my hands on the bar and I move the bar and, I'm sore tomorrow. But unless you're doing it more intelligently, like with an actual plan, this is why having a coach can make a big difference, because they can say, hey, when you move the muscles this way, it's activating this or that. And so tomorrow you need to move this muscle instead, and that's going to counterbalance everything and you're going to build the physique. That's why you need a coach. That's why I'm here, to help you with this kind of stuff, because there's more than one way to do it, and not everybody's opinion is right, including my own. You need to go listen to lots of opinions and form your own. That's the advice I always love to give on the stream. Don't ever just listen to my advice. You need to go listen to lots of people and form your own opinion on that. Jim F from YYC up in Calgary. Awesome. Not Fick or Fike. Yep, just Jim F. Okay, I'll try to remember that next time. Jim F from Calgary. I like Calgary. Calgary is a very confusing city with the quadrant system that they have. I'm originally from Canada. I grew up in the Northwest Territories, and we would drive down to Edmonton and Calgary in the summers. So it's a fun little city, but it's basically like, imagine any city cut like a pizza into exactly 4 pieces. Every address exists in all 4 of those quadrants. And so you've got like 123 Main Street, northeast, 123 Main Street, southeast, 123 Main Street, southwest, and northwest. And so if you just show up at an airport and you hop in a taxi and say, take me to 123 Main Street, they were like, which one? There's 4 of them at that exact address. Like, there's going to be a building at that address in 4, physical locations. Like, which one do you want to go to? So, Wildcard says there's some good sites out there that help with organization for LeetCode. Yep, LeetCode.io is a good one. Let me go get Sean's website as well. So there's another guy that I interviewed on the stream about a year ago. His name is Sean Prashad, and he came up with this website where he's basically curating other people's LeetCode lists, and he built a really cool web interface around it where you can narrow it down by pattern. You can also narrow it down by company and by difficulty level, or any combination of those 3. And when you pick a company, it'll also show a frequency graph at the top around like which patterns are they more likely to ask. It's not 100% accurate, but it's a pretty good practice tool. So yeah, LeetCode.io is a good one, or NeetCode.io, sorry. I don't know if I've seen NeetCode. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, it basically breaks it down by pattern, and it gives you like up to a dozen or so problems for each of those. Yeah, that's great. So what Sean does is so just on NeetCode, for example, I see that they've got Blind 75. So Sean also consumes that Blind 75 as part of his data. But then he also breaks it down by company. So he's got like LeetCode Premium, so he can go in and he can see like what kinds of questions does Amazon ask, and Oracle and Google, and all those folks. And then he adds all of that into his database as well. Cool deal. Taco Fed asked, I've heard this before, is there age discrimination? Yeah, absolutely. There's age discrimination. It's a big thing. I'm pushing 50. And I get age discriminated against. I'm sure that it happened on my job hunt back in December and January. They're going to look at me and go, wow, you graduated, before I was born, kind of thing. I mean, I graduated in 1996. So I've been in the industry since then. So for 26 years. But it is a thing, unfortunately. And there's no getting away from some amount of bias in the interview process, unfortunately. it's illegal, but it's also really hard to know that a company has passed on you or why they've passed on you. You just never hear from them, or they'll start on the interview process and they see my gray hair and they're like, oh, never mind. And, next thing I know, I get a rejection from them. But I think if you can show a very strong, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a value proposition, like you want to show them why you matter to them, then very little else will matter to them, because all they see is the value that you bring. And that's really what you want to promote. So the whole application process, the whole first phone call that you have, tell me about yourself. If you write up a cover letter, even what you promote on your resume has to scream at them, this is the value that I bring, this is why you need to call me. If you don't do that, then they're less likely to call you, and you're less likely to stand out in a good way. And so any phone call that I had with a company, I was always like doing research on them, like who are they, what do they do, what do they believe as a company, who are their top customers, what do they believe, if I get a job at that company, would I want to do work for that customer? All those things matter to me. Also finding out things like, is this even a diverse company? Some companies are like, oh yeah, we're totally diverse. And I get on the phone call and it's another white dude. And we're like, tell me about your team. And they're like, well, we got this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. And I'm like, what about all the non-guys on your team? Like, do you have a diverse team? And they're like, well, we want to be diverse. I'm like, then why are you talking to another white dude? Like, I literally called companies out on this during my own job hunt. I literally withdrew from a couple of jobs because they claimed that they were diverse, but they were not. You can go find out that information. You can go find their employee list on LinkedIn and, the employee list and the executive list on their websites and things like that. And you can go look at that information and realize like they claim to be diverse and they are not practicing it. And so I actually called out a couple of companies. One of them, the recruiter that scheduled that phone call, I reached back out and said, thanks, I'm going to withdraw. The company's not diverse and, I don't want to be a part of that. And I copied the manager who I just interviewed with, as well as the recruiter. And the recruiter actually emailed me back privately and said, hey, I really appreciate that you stood up for that. That means a lot. And it's like, yeah, it's important to me. It's not important to everybody, but it's important to me. And so I literally walked away from interviews because of it. And I don't feel bad about it. I never lost a wink of sleep over it. I've had people on the stream call me out and they're like, oh, that could have been a great job. It's like, yeah, it could have been, but that's not the kind of job that I want. So, Kisu said, sent in the resume. I'm sure the design of my resume is not ideal, but since I don't have any experience in the field, it was the only way I could think of on how to do the layout. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we'll take a look at that next Thursday. So if anybody else has a resume, if you want to do a resume review, we're going to do that next Thursday. Go submit it over here. And I'll go through and I'll grab a bunch of those and we'll do some resume reviews next week. And we'll do them publicly, so don't worry about the $50 cost. That's only for people that want a private review. And if you want a private review, if you do want a private review, just let me know when you submit the resume. There's a little thing in there to give me some context around like what kind of job are you looking for and whatever. Just put in the form like I want a private review, and then we'll talk about PayPal or whatever. So yeah, if you want to send over a resume, we'll do that up next Thursday. So I'll go make a note. Actually, I'll do that before I forget. I'm gonna go make a note on the website that next Thursday is gonna be resume reviews. That is on the 11th. Resume reviews. All right, so I will get that up on the website. I will get it on the website as we speak. Cool. All right. Well, let's pop over to Discord. If anybody else has questions, by the way, or if I've missed your question, please re-ask it in chat. I always feel bad if I miss people's questions, but if there's something that you've asked and I've missed it, feel free to repost. Just scrolling back through chat real quick. I don't think I missed anything. Hey Whip, good to see you in chat as well. Sorry I missed you earlier. Cool. So in Discord, I've got a whole channel called Anonymous Questions. If you want to come hang out on Discord, you're welcome to. I've got a whole channel in there called Anonymous Questions. And what I want to do, or basically like whenever people ask me questions or they ask me to answer questions on other public forums and so on, is I like to grab those questions and I put them in this channel. And then occasionally on the stream, I'll ask, I'll say like, hey, we got an anonymous question, and I'll re-ask the question. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, here's my socials and stuff. Same username as here on Twitch. You can go follow me. And connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't just follow me on LinkedIn. Go connect with me as well, so you can use my my network if you want introductions and so on. Actually, I think I made. Is it just intro? Yeah, there we go. So bang intro is another command that I made. So go check out this GitHub gist that I made on how to use my LinkedIn network for me to make an introduction. So if you're curious about me introducing you to other people, here's how to utilize my network on LinkedIn to figure out who I can introduce you to. Basically, you can click on my LinkedIn profile where it says 500 connections. You can click on that and then do a company search on who do I know at that company. And then when you get a list of employees, then you can reach out to me and say, hey, can you introduce me to this person at this company? And then I will make as many introductions as people want. So definitely take me up on that offer. I'm happy to do that to help people out. Cool. So over on Discord, I've got this whole anonymous questions channel. So I'm just going to grab a couple of questions out of here. You will see some stuff happening over here in chat, which is like a little clip command that I use. And that's just writing stuff into a database that once the stream is over, it'll go back and it'll like extract those smaller videos for the YouTube playlists, and it'll also extract the audio out of that for the audio podcast as well. You saw my repo with the dad jokes. Awesome. Yeah, I had a lot of fun building that. I mean, none of them are my jokes, but yeah, I love building up stuff like that. So I basically for work, I built a little API with some dad jokes on it. Actually, I think if you do, is it exclamation mark joke or dad joke? I forget. Is it joke or is it dad joke? Might be dad joke. There it is. Went to a smoke shop only to discover it had been replaced by an apparel store. Clothes, but no cigar. All right, so let's go grab a couple of anonymous questions here. And so like I said, you'll see some stuff happening over in chat. And if you want to add your own perspective on things as well, you're more than welcome to. I'm always happy to take other opinions and perspectives as well. So again, it's not just about me and my opinions and so on. I like hearing ideas and perspectives from other people as well. And if we don't agree, we don't agree. That's okay too. But I think it's important that people hear different ideas and different perspectives and stuff like that. Joba99, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Give you some blinky lights. Hello. All right, so I'm gonna go through a couple of anonymous questions here. So you'll just see stuff happening over here in chat as we do all that. Joining Uber remotely on Monday. Congratulations. Good for you. Good for you. Congrats on getting the Uber job. Good job. Good job. Tell us about your interview process. What was your interview experience like? You don't have to be careful not to tell us, don't break any non-disclosures or whatever by telling us what they asked during the interview. But if it's stuff that you can share with us, as far as the overall experience, I love hearing other people's experiences around what was the total process, how many phone calls or interviews, how hard were the technical challenges, all that kind of stuff. It was standard. Well, standard means a lot of things. So fill us in on some details. I'd love to hear it. And I'm also curious, because this was a theme that came up earlier. Did you negotiate on your offer? And if not, why not? I hope that you did. But yeah, I always recommend that people negotiate and so on. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about how many steps it took and how many phone calls and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure people would love to hear it. We had an anonymous question come in, and I'm pulling this from our Discord community, that said, when you left a toxic work environment, how do you explain that in a job interview? Whenever you leave a job, you need to have a good story to tell. Hiring managers, recruiters, they all want to know what the impact of something was. If you were at a job and it was just a really bad environment, that's okay. It's not your fault, unless you were, of course, the person being toxic, but I don't think that's the theme of this question. the person asking the question is implying that they were in an environment which was toxic to them and they chose to leave. Absolutely understandable. At the same time, when you're in an interview, we typically coach people not to speak too negatively about a company. We want to make sure that when you leave our job, that you're not going to speak too negatively about us, or at least we hope that you're not going to speak too negatively about us. And so how you speak about other employers is going to be pretty telling for how you're going to speak about my company when you get a job and leave my company. But at the same time, I think that having a good story to tell is going to help understand why you left a job, especially if it's been a little while since you left that job, or more importantly, if that job ended up being a short stay. So if you were only at that job for 4 months or 6 months or less than a year, recruiters are going to be curious why you left in such a short amount of time. And so coming up with a story to tell about why you left is going to be important. You probably don't want to say the word toxic. You probably don't want to badmouth the company too much. Instead, what I would recommend is using terminology and phrasing like, it wasn't a good fit, or once I took the job, I realized it wasn't quite the job that I imagined it was going to be. So I worked at it for a little while, tried to make it work, and ultimately decided that I needed to go in a different direction. You want to make it sound like it was your decision to leave without making it sound like you're, completely destroying that company, even if they deserve it. I want to be clear on that. Even if they deserve it, like, you still have to be a little bit diplomatic about it and make it sound like, you know what, I tried to make it work. And in the end, I needed to walk away. And I needed to go in a different direction. Or you could phrase it like, you know what, I thought I wanted to do a job in that kind of industry, and it turns out it just wasn't the right industry for me. Some industries are toxic, just kind of as a whole. There are some industries which are far more competitive, which make for more toxic work environments than others. And I think it's important to understand what that is and what level you're capable of sort of enduring, because some companies, like, it is worth it if you can endure it, but usually for your mental health, and your mental health can then affect your physical health, it's usually not worth it. And so knowing that you need to walk away is an important step, and I think it shows a lot of maturity. But at the same time, you do need to be careful about how you communicate about the company and why you left. So using some phrasing like, I interviewed with the company, I thought it was going to be a great fit. Once I got into the role, worked for a little while, I realized there was something about it that didn't quite fit right with what I was expecting. It wasn't quite what I had imagined in the job. I tried to make it work out. I stuck it out for a number of months, tried to learn everything that I could, try to absorb some things, and tried to work out, what was good about the team, and just ultimately decided that that wasn't going to be the right environment for me and the kind of support that I wanted as an employee. And so I decided to leave. That's all you need to say. And if they press on it, you can kind of expand on it a little bit. But again, you want to be careful not to speak too negatively about managers and too negatively about the company, because that kind of stuff does stand out. Again, though, even if the company deserves it, as much as it would be great to put them on blast and so on, I think that's what platforms like Twitter are for. You don't want to do it in an interview, though. I think it makes you stand out in a bad way if you badmouth an employer, even if they deserve it, though. So I think being able to come up with a story around why you tried to make it work and it still didn't work out, and so you decided to find another opportunity, that's totally okay to tell. All right, Gioba99 bumped it by 10%. That's a pretty healthy bump when you're talking about FANG companies, so congrats on that. Had 6 interviews, 2 phone calls, 4 video calls. Awesome. Position is really specific to something I didn't know if I can talk about. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we don't want you to get into any trouble there. So that's fantastic, though. I mean, a 10% lift on negotiation. That's fantastic. Excuse me. That's a fantastic lift for sure. Typically, anything 5 to 10% is a really good starting point. You gave yourself a raise before you even started the job. That's always a good feeling for sure. A lot of Golang questions. Interesting. So Uber's doing stuff on Go. That's pretty cool. Good deal. Good deal. I liked working in Go. Go was a fun language. We started on Go back in 2014. 2014. Yeah, when I was working at SendGrid, we started converting everything from. We were working on a new project that we were designing in Python. We were going to convert it to Ruby. We were going to do it in Ruby. Then we were going to convert it to Python, and then we went straight from Ruby to Go, and built out a whole bunch of Go microservices from there. And the performance of it was fantastic. I went to another company who had written everything in Python. And they're like, oh, you worked at SendGrid, you did a bunch of stuff in Go. And so I taught a bunch of folks there about Go, and now everything they do is in Go. It's a great language. And yeah, you're right. It's simple and it has good performance. Well, I mean, simple is subjective, but it's straightforward, I think is a better way of putting that. It's a straightforward language. It does have drawbacks. There's things that you can't easily do in Go. Like, it's not an object-oriented programming language. So if you're used to doing object-oriented work and design, it can throw you a little bit. And that was honestly my hurdle when I got into it, is I'd been doing so much object-oriented stuff that I'm like, wait, how do I build an object? How do I instantiate that? And trying to learn about interfaces instead, and how Go does interfaces and so on, threw me for a bit of a loop. It honestly took me a good solid month to get into the realm of like, oh, it's an interface. Okay, let's do everything through interfaces and so on. Made it a little bit easier to understand, but yeah, it's a neat language for sure. No functional programming makes some trivial things harder. Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, let me go into Discord. I want to flag that question as being answered. And we'll grab another one. I think this will be a good one. This will be kind of on a similar topic when we talk about things like mental health. We had another good question from the Discord community as well that came in from an anonymous source. It said, whenever I prepare, like studying and practicing for an interview, I keep repeating embarrassing moments of my past failed interviews. I can't focus on my preparation. How can I overcome this? When you know you don't do well in an interview, it can definitely leave a mark. And if you dwell on it, it can make it even worse. My typical advice is easier said than done, but my typical coaching says think on it, but don't dwell on it. You can reflect on what happened. You can reflect on what you would do differently. And I think it really comes down to a growth mindset of, okay, I made a mistake. This is how I'm going to make it better and do better next time. And not dwell on the fact that, oh, I really wanted that job and I didn't get that job and I bombed it and now I'm no good. I shouldn't be a developer, or letting it hold you up. It's disappointing, absolutely. And I've been there too. I've missed out on opportunities. Even back in December, I had a couple of job opportunities lined up where I was interviewing and I totally messed up the interview. And it was totally on me. And that company didn't move forward and I was really disappointed. And I really beat myself up about it for about a day and a half because I missed, a small little email and like a whole bunch of emails back and forth around like the timing of the interviews and how long I needed to prepare for something. And I over-prepared something. And it basically threw the whole interview for a loop and I didn't get the job. It's disappointing. It's kind of heartbreaking. And at the same time, I think it's important to learn from it, but not to dwell on it. It's the dwelling on it that can become bad for our mental health. And I think it's important to have more of a growth mindset around, yep, I made a mistake. I'm going to own it and I'm going to get better and I'm going to try not to do it again. That can also be hard not to do it again, because sometimes when you get into a new interview, they'll say something or something will happen and you'll be like, oh no, this is just like that last interview, and you're going to freeze up. I think some of that just comes with practice, to be honest. I think being able to practice interviews with other people and practice the scenario so that you can better handle it, I think is a good way to start to work through that instead of letting it be a hurdle. But it does take a while. And so I empathize with you for having that happen in an interview, because I've been there too. Not the exact same, experience as you, but a similar experience as you. The only advice I can give is not to dwell on it. Reflect on it, figure out what you will do better or different next time. Not just better, but what are you going to do differently? How are you going to use that preparation time then to help prevent that from happening the next time? But in that next interview, if it does happen again, it's important not to get caught in that mental trap of, oh no, it's happening again. Oh no, I'm going to bomb this one too. Because then you can end up in another downward spiral around, oh, it's happening again. Because then it's more likely to happen on the next interview and the next interview. I think having that growth mindset, though, is a big step around how can I keep this from happening? What can I learn from this and grow so that this doesn't happen? Or if it does happen again, or when it does happen again, I'm better prepared to handle it next time. Sometimes that can be, just talking to someone else with experience and say, hey, this happened in an interview. How can I get better at doing that? Or can I practice this kind of question with you because I tend to not do well with this kind of question or this kind of scenario? Can I spend some time with you and talk through that? Find a mentor, find someone that can help you out, or come by the live stream sometime and tell us a little bit about what happened and see if we can provide some ideas or guidance. There's lots of folks in the community that would love to help you out here. That would be my advice. Like I said, it's easier said than done. Of, oh yeah, just have a growth mindset, it'll be great. That's not the case. It does take time to get over, and it takes time to process what happened. But I think it's important to take that time and reflect on what happened so that you can better prepare how not to do it again next time. First time chat. Somebody mods Minecraft, Java, and Bedrock. Yeah, don't care. I'm not a Minecraft channel, so can anybody verify if that's spam? Should I kick the comment? It's their first time chat in here. I mean, it's not like go buy followers or anything like that, but if it's you would not click that, seems suspicious. Yeah, all right, I'm just gonna toss that message out. Thanks for coming. Why can't I do that in here? All right. I will go do that over here. Can I do that over here? Why can't I do it over here either? All right. I need to go figure out some tools, apparently. We'll pull that up over here. See if this will pull it up or not. I don't know if it will. Yeah, it will. All right, let me go. That didn't actually delete the message though. Does anybody know? Can anybody advise me on how to actually do that? It's not often that I get spam comments in here, but when I do, it's annoying. Like, I'd love to just right click on it and say delete the message, but it's not letting me do that. Hey, Vortex Images, good to have you dropping by. Thanks for that. Yeah, how do you actually delete a message? Or moderate a message? I can't even moderate my own chat? That's weird. Does anybody know how to do that on Twitch? I think it's in the mod chat settings. I mean, I'm in the stream manager on Twitch. Oh, it's not in the stream manager? All right. Let's go into the mod. Wait, how do I even do that? Apparently I'm a moderator noob on my own channel. All right, well, don't click on that link about Minecraft because that's just junk. But apparently I can't can't just delete. I can't just straight up delete a message. I mean, I can ban them. There we go. Moderate. Did that moderate them? I don't think that changed anything. All right, let's ban them for now. I don't know if that changed. All right, it got deleted. I feel bad banning people, but you know, you come into my channel and spam stuff, then yep, that did it for sure. Well, I've only ever had to ban one other person on my channel, and that person basically came in and was like, you know, saying lots of things about the Diversity in Tech fundraiser, and I was basically saying like, oh, I don't want white men in tech, and yeah, it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying there are enough white men in tech. I want to see other people in tech. I'm not saying that white men don't deserve to be in tech, or that white men in tech should not get jobs, or anything along those lines. Yes, everybody deserves a place, but for now I'm focusing on diversity, because we need more diversity. We need more diversity in thought and perspective and so on. That's something that's really important to me, and this person came in and was like super harassing about it. So I'm like, all right, well, you don't have to be here, you can leave. And then they kept talking and kept talking. I'm like, all right, bye. RC Maniac, what's going on? Good to see you. All right, well, let's go grab some more questions here. Let me flag that one as being done. But yeah, those are the kinds of questions that I like to ask and the kinds of advice that I like to give. RC Maniac's one of my VIPs. Also been around the tech industry for a long time and loves to help people out and give perspectives. And you forgot this was going on? Thanks, appreciate that. You've been following me for how long now? Every Sunday, every Thursday, and you forget Twitch didn't notify you? It's because you probably turned off the little bell not to get notified. If you turn on that little bell, then you get a notification when I go live. You know that, right? You know how Twitch works? Just giving you a hard time, man. Appreciate you coming by. I always appreciate having you in chat and offering perspective and stuff. Bell is on. Weird. You know what? I heard from another streamer like earlier in the week. They were like, yeah, the notification thing isn't working. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're working on something on their side. Who knows? But every Sunday, every Thursday, same time. You sleep in on Sunday, that's fine. I like to sleep in too, but so yeah, so I used to stream Sunday night at the same time as I do Thursday, but I moved that stream earlier on Sunday because I have a lot of people from Europe and Asia that want to come and participate in the stream, and so I made that one earlier on Sunday just to accommodate that. And so a lot of the folks that we're going to be having on the stream in August and September on Sundays are going to be in other countries. They're not going to be in the US. Again, for diversity of thought and diversity of perspective, and just kind of hearing like what's hiring like over in the UK and in various parts of Europe and in India and things like that. So we're going to be having lots and lots of folks on the stream, and we're really looking forward to that. So pretty much every single Sunday through the end of September, we're going to have a guest on the stream. There are a couple of dates coming up that you can go check on the website that I won't be streaming, and it's mostly going to be because of travel. I've got another trip to San Francisco in September, and that's going to overlap on a Thursday night. I don't know if I'm going to stream. I might try and stream remotely if I can. The stream layout won't look exactly like this because I'm not lugging my whole PC to San Francisco. And I could try to copy all these assets over to my MacBook. But I might try like just Streamlabs or something for a night and see if I could just stream through a web browser or something. Just do like a really simple stream. See if I can go find somewhere fun in San Francisco to stream live. Or if folks on the stream are in San Francisco and you want to hang out, let's like grab coffee or something and let's do like a little impromptu like live resume review or something like that. I think that'd be fun too. So we'll see. Giopa said, random question. What do you think of the tendency that Twitch content is like gambling, sexualization on the front page all the time? I mean, it drives clicks, you know. I'm sure if I put the word hot tub in my title or description, I'm sure we'd have a few hundred people in here instead. Like hot tub ASMR, you know, poker giveaway or something like that. I mean, we'd have a grip of people in here all the time. It varies. I mean, it's all part of their algorithms, and they're trying to keep eyeballs on here, and they're trying to keep people sticky, you know, metaphorically speaking. They're trying to keep the eyeballs. They're trying to keep the eyeballs on here, where they're trying to figure out, you know, what kinds of streams do people want to watch, and so on. You know, organic growth like we've had here on the channel. I mean, we've had anywhere from, you know, 5 people show up to 50 people show up on a regular basis. Typical is what we're seeing right now, like somewhere between 20 and 30 viewers at a time, and I'm okay with that. You know, chat kind of goes at a good enough pace that I can still follow along chat. I've had a few people come in and raid with like 100 plus, 150 plus people, and chat's just scrolling by like crazy, and I end up missing questions, and that's why I love having folks like RC Maniac come by who can help watch chat and like repost and highlight and say, hey, someone asked this question. And it allows me to go back and make sure that I'm addressing the questions that are actually coming in as opposed to just people bantering back and forth. And I think that's fine. That's absolutely okay anytime in my chat. I like when chat is active, and I like when chat has questions, and I like when chat is, you know, helping each other out. That's what we're here for. We're here to kind of build up that community. At the same time, I'm okay with not having like thousands and thousands of people on the stream. I think it would be a little unwieldy, and I would need a whole team of moderators at that point to like keep things under control, or, you know, keep the riffraff out, or keep the spam links at bay, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's you know, I'm okay with organic growth. I think organic growth is good for me. But as far as like Twitch and their algorithms, I mean, Twitch is going to be what Twitch is going to be. You know, hot tub, ASMR, blah blah blah. Like those are big things, and it's, you know, whatever. You know, those folks also have tons and tons of ads. How many ads have you seen on my channel? You know, you might have had a pre-roll ad when you first joined the channel, but you're not going to have any ads in between because I don't do ad breaks, because I don't do this to make money. But any money I do make all goes into that pot. And if you do subscribe, by the way, if you are a subscriber, I will 3D print logos and stuff like that up here. I'm thinking I might start just 3D printing people's names, because I've got like a ton of people that subscribed and gifted out subs to other folks, and I keep bugging them like, give me a logo or something, and a bunch of them never got back to me. Free Heathen, who you see like way up here as the last subscriber, they did send me a logo that I need to 3D print. Yeah, I would love to have anything that's work friendly and family friendly. If you are a subscriber, I will absolutely 3D print some stuff up here. I've been trying to get like the Maker Deck logo with a hollowed out M, you know, that's going to look good as a silhouette to put up there for a bunch of people. And nobody's helping with the design, so I can't 3D print that. I haven't got time to like sit down and design that out myself. As soon as somebody does, then I will. Randn 3D, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. So yeah, so I mean, this is how I like to stream. You know, I like to just kind of kick back and interact with chat and answer questions around career advice and interview prep and all that kind of stuff. And again, we may not all see eye to eye, and that's okay too. I think it's good to have a difference of opinion if it's done in a respectful way. It's when you end up arguing and getting like heated about it that it's not good. Like I even had a guest on the stream one time where we're reviewing a resume, and they're like, resume should look like this. And I'm like, no, as a hiring manager, I would look for this. And he's like, no, but I tell people all the time to do it this way. And I'm like, but that's like, that's not what I would want to see on a resume. And we went back and forth, and it's like, see everybody, there's no one right way to make a resume. Like 2 engineering managers can't agree. I've had other engineering managers on here too. And sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't. And that's okay. At the end of the day, it's your resume. You have to make your resume the way you want to make your resume. You don't have to listen to my advice. You don't have to listen to their advice. You can listen to all the advice and make your own decision. In fact, I think that's the best way to go. So that way, like, all the resumes in the world don't look like the way Ian wants you to make a resume. I think that's dangerous, because then, you know, I'm hiring for a couple of, well, I'm not the hiring manager, but like we're hiring for a couple of roles at Postman, and I'm one of the interviewers, and I'm going to be looking at resumes. And I saw one today, and I'm like, someone sent in the resume. They're like, can you put in a referral? I'm like, sure, I'll refer you for the job. And I got the resume, and I'm like, ew. I still submitted it anyway, but if I get an interview with them, I might start the interview with like, tell me why you made the resume the way you did. No, I won't do that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing professional interviews at work for Postman. It's going to be exciting. We got a lot of roles. If anybody's interested in a referral, let me know. I'll get your resume and cover letter in. We got lots of roles around the world, all kinds of technical positions and non-technical positions. So if you're looking for a job and you want to consider Postman, DM me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and DM me, and I'll submit you as a referral. All right, let's see. I think I'll go do a couple more questions, and we'll maybe wrap up for the night. If you do have other questions, please keep dropping them in chat. We've had some really good questions tonight, and I'm happy to do more of those questions kind of as we go. Entry levels. Give me more context around that, Kisu. Repeated question. Thanks, RC Maniac. My company had layoffs on Tuesday. A teammate got cut. It's been a rough week. I'll have to see if my old coworker is interested. I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, that was from you, RC Maniac. Bummer to hear that your company had layoffs. We're starting to see it more and more, and it's disappointing. I had someone ask the other day, like, what kinds of jobs should I be applying for? And I said, well, I think the collective wisdom is in the tech industry especially, but in any kind of job really, when the economy takes a downturn, and ours certainly has. Are we in a recession or not? That's not up to me to judge. I mean, there are classic definitions and the revised definitions and whatever. We're not here to be political. Whether or not we're in a recession, I'm not here to debate and get into. But when the economy doesn't do well, what do people stop spending money on? Those are the kinds of companies you probably don't want to go apply for a job. I've seen differing reports where it's like, oh, tech isn't doing well, but travel is doing exceedingly well. But travel is one of the first things that people start cutting back on when they don't have disposable income. They stop taking trips. With gasoline being the price that it is, people are less likely to drive their cars. So they're less likely to take road trips. They're less likely to travel from place to place, and airfares start getting more expensive because fuel costs go up and so on and so on. What other kinds of things don't do well when people have less disposable income? They don't buy streaming services as much. People are more likely to cancel like a Spotify and Netflix subscription because they need to save on that money. Groceries got more expensive, so maybe I need to cut back on this or that. What kinds of things do people always need regardless? They need groceries, they need insurance, they need housing. Those aren't glamorous jobs in the tech industry, like going and working at an insurance company or a banking company. They're not glamorous jobs, but they're probably more secure than other kinds of jobs. So going and working for that hot startup that's doing, fun stuff with travel, they're probably going to have a harder time keeping their staff because that industry, I think, is going to take a hit. I'm not here to predict. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just saying I've been through 2 economic downturns in 2001 and 2008 and 9. I've been through them. I've seen what people don't spend money on, and those are the companies that tend to have a harder time unless they're a giant company like a Netflix. Like Netflix isn't going to go bankrupt. They're not going to go away. Disney Plus isn't going away. HBO Max, they're talking about like rebranding or something, but whatever. But like smaller startups who are trying to get a foothold in the market that don't have like tons and tons and tons of cash to spend, they're going to have a harder time weathering the storm. And so go look at economics, go Google, like what do people spend less money on when the economy goes bad? Figure out what those things are. Don't go apply for jobs at those kinds of companies, because when people have less money to spend, they're not going to be doing those things. Those kinds of companies, I think, are going to be some of the first ones doing layoffs. Not always, but in my experience, that has been the case. Do people still spend on tech? To some degree, but like even Intel and AMD both have, Intel released a report last week or the week before, and AMD filed a report this week saying, yeah, the PC market really took a hit. Well, yeah, it's because graphics cards were like $2,000 each. No one's going to pay for a new graphics card. But like people also aren't upgrading their computers the way that they used to. It's because people don't have disposable cash. They don't have tons of cash kicking around. Personal debt is at a really high level. Inflation got really bad. People are getting laid off. People don't have $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 plus to go spend on some new fancy RGB case with all the lights and water cooling and blah blah blah. They're gonna buy like the bare minimum that they need to like get the job done and, you know, do what they need to do. But they're not going to be dropping tons of cash on that kind of stuff. Again, those are the kinds of jobs that like Intel and AMD, they're not going away. Like they're not going to merge. They're not going to go bankrupt either. But, you know, they're having a hard time. So what do people stop spending money on? Those are the kinds of things that we're going to need to kind of pay attention to, I think. That's my take on it. Interesting thing was the board wanted to cut a lot more. The CEO basically said, no, cut down on the number of people. Yeah. I saw low and middle class is cutting back on all the things, but upper class is spending more on travel. As someone who does streaming TV, I saw all the quarterly reports from places today. Basically every streaming company did not do good. Yeah. And I think it's going to get worse. Honestly, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to be a while before the economy recovers. And so what do people not go to? They don't tend to go to live events. At the same time, like you gotta go and find things to do. So like maybe people won't be spending as much money out at restaurants and things like that. But I think the occasional sporting event and live event, I think is still gonna get some amount of you know, foot traffic and so on. But we've still got pandemic and, you know, other diseases and stuff cropping up all over the place that I think other people are going to want to be careful about. Yeah, it's a weird combination mix of all that stuff for sure. So yeah, it's hard to tell. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball, but I've been through a few of these to know that, you know, the companies that do well are companies who are established, that have a revenue stream that that are necessary. Like someone asked me the other day, who were they asking about specifically? I think it was Gusto. They were saying like, hey, I'm thinking about, you know, applying for a job at Gusto. It's a payroll company here in the Denver region. And I'm like, that'd be a fantastic job. Companies need payroll. They don't want to have to go build their own. Like a company who has established using Gusto for their payroll is not going to say like, hey, we need to cut costs. Let's stop using Gusto and do all this manually. Like they're not going to do that. So companies like Gusto, those kinds of companies are going to be necessary. Like those kinds of financial services are going to be necessary components for other businesses to thrive. When you think about what happened with the pandemic, like all the like Zoom and stuff like that, they all took off like crazy. They had tons of job security and tons of profit because they were the right tool at the right job for what was necessary. And it's going to be the same kind of thing with businesses, I think, where tooling that businesses are sort of ingrained and like really embedded in what they do, they're not going to cut that as a cost. They're going to find a way to, like, you know, if it's a tool that really helps with productivity, they're not going to stop using it. It's all the fringe things of like, you know, do we buy everybody like 15 different licenses for 15 IDEs, or do we buy everybody the same license for the same IDE just so we can standardize and get like a bulk discount on something? Like that's way more likely to happen. But if it's like, you know, we use this database and we have to pay a subscription to use that database, they're not going to stop using that database. Cloud hosting, for example, like people may cut back a little bit on AWS, but they're not going to say, well, AWS costs more than Google Cloud, so we're just going to move everything to Google Cloud. That's a pretty extreme move. I don't think companies are going to go quite that far, but it'll be interesting to kind of watch over the next couple of months, like what actually happens. So in my experience, go see what people don't spend money on and don't apply for those kinds of jobs. I think it'll be a lot harder to have those jobs and so on. Gioba brings up a good point too. It's a great time to invest in yourself if you have the means to. Yes, I think that's important for sure. Lil Freezy started applying today. Awesome. Let us know how that goes. Let me know if you need help with anything there. People will be spending more on food and gas eventually. True. Yep. Eventually, but like not in the near term. And so if you're trying to find a job now, going in, trying to apply for a technology job with, somewhere in the food industry, like Uber Eats, for example, like people aren't going to be spending as much money on Uber Eats. They're more likely to just go buy the groceries themselves or go to the restaurant and buy it themselves instead of paying the 20-30% markup because they can't afford that anymore. Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Like people, I think, are going to start reducing on those kinds of costs because those are the first things that happen when people don't have disposable money. But it also depends on their priorities too. Like they might think like, you know what, I'm going to keep paying for that expensive internet connection, but I'm not going to eat out as much. And so I'm going to learn to cook instead. I mean, everyone's going to be a little bit different, but that's my take on it. Find a boring but stable job, grow professionally. Yep. That's a great way to think about it too. RC Manic says, my worry is something we don't get analysis of until months to years after the fact. Is that there are things that actually cost more. And then there are the things that are raising the prices because they're thinking, well, everybody's raising prices and they can hide behind that. Fears that once things like gasoline drops, that it won't reduce in cost because they know people view their cost as like sort of the base cost. Gasoline though does fluctuate, but you're right. I mean, over history, like, gasoline has never gone back down to like 10 cents a gallon. It goes up and it might like taper and come down a little bit, but it's pretty much always going to stay around there. It's kind of the same as the housing market, to be honest. Like housing might go down temporarily, but it's going to go back up, You basically described how Argentina hyperinflation worked. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time for sure. And like I said, I don't claim to have all the answers, but in my experience, like the first economic downturn, I happened to be at a financial services company and we did fine. In the second economic downturn, what was I doing? I was just getting out of freelance work and I was getting back into a startup that was well funded that was doing online advertising. We actually did okay. We had a lot of growth at the time because people were trying to find alternate revenue streams and like for monetizing their content. And so people were putting a lot of money into ads and we were selling like billions of dollars worth of ads. And so it really helped our business as well. But we were also kind of shaking up the market a little bit with what we were doing too. So we were in it right at the right time, and then we kind of weathered through that storm okay. But a lot of people didn't, and a lot of industries took hits. A lot of companies shut down. A lot of smaller companies shut down. And so while the big company boring jobs aren't glamorous, I think they're going to have more job security. So I would say in the short term, if you're applying for a job or if you're looking for new work, whether you're in the tech industry or not, getting a boring, stable job is okay. But I've also got the quote from Jim Carrey going through my mind. If you ever saw a commencement address that he made, where he said, his dad wanted to be a stand-up comic as well, but he went and got the boring, safe job as an accountant and then got laid off anyway. And so his whole thing in the commencement address is like, just go chase what you love. Like you'll find a way to make it work. But I mean, if you got to pay rent and you need food on the table and you got to eat and you got to be healthy and all that kind of stuff too. So you got to do what it takes to survive. Sometimes that means taking a job that you're not super thrilled about, but how do you even get that job if you don't care about the job? That's where you have to really sell them on, this is the value that I bring and this is why I care. Even if you don't really care, you still have to kind of sell them on the idea of like, I'm a great fit for this company and here's why. Here's what I bring to the company. That's what's going to stand out to them. That's what's going to really make them think, oh yeah, we should totally hire this person. As opposed to just walking in and say, I'm RC Maniac and I've got the technical skill and that's all you know about me and that's all you need to know about me. Just give me a job, please, because I need a paycheck. Those kinds of folks stand out in interviews. We can usually tell during the first 1 or 2, maybe 3 interviews whether you even care about what we do as a company. And that's usually where we start dropping people out of the running, and we try to keep people on who have, you know, medium or better technical skill, but also care about what we do, because we want to know that you're in it for the long term and that you're going to care about your job. And it's hard to fake sometimes, I'll be honest, it's hard to fake it, but you have to figure out how to tell that story. You have to figure out how to really sell the idea that you're a good fit for that job. It's the only way you're going to get through those interviews. Rand, good to see you. Good night to you as well. Love listening to your talks. You're very wise, very informative. I appreciate that. Come by anytime. Anytime I can answer questions for you and so on, I'm happy to do that. So yeah, feel free to come by anytime. Cool. We've been going about 2 hours. My throat's getting a little raw, to be honest. I mentioned earlier that I wasn't sure if I was even going to stream because I wasn't feeling 100%, but I think we'll start to wrap up. Appreciate all the questions for sure. Gonna go take a look at the homepage real quick and see how many gambling and hot tub folks are on there. Got some indie music and all kinds of stuff, but yeah, lots of stuff going on. Chrissy Codes is online. We're gonna go right into Chrissy. She's been going for about 2 hours, so we'll right over to Chrissy, and I'll set all of that up over here. So Chrissy is still learning how to code, but fantastic streamer, really friendly, loves having people drop by and ask questions and so on. Looks like she's working on some Python today, so we're going to go right over there. She's been doing some work in Python and Django. Before we do that, Low Freezy has a question. Should I study React heavily before applying to front-end jobs, or am I good to apply with just vanilla JS and CSS HTML and Tailwind? Depends on the role. If the role needs you to have React, I would make at least a couple of projects in React, and then you can tell them in the interview, like, hey, I'm still learning this. I'm not great at it. Most of my experience is in vanilla JS and HTML and so on. But if the job requires React, then yeah, you're going to need to know it. That's part of the value that you bring, is the ability to go learn something quickly. And so I would say even come up with a couple of projects, or add it into a project where, or better yet, take a project that you've already built, fork a copy, or like make a new branch. If you've got it on GitHub, make a branch and add React to that branch. And then you can say, like, you can go back and forth between these things, and you can see how I did it in vanilla JavaScript. You can also see how I did it in React. And it shows them your ability to reproduce existing code using a framework. That kind of thing will stand out for them. You don't have to be an expert at it, but you're going to need some amount of skill in that, because React is it's not an expected skill in front-end development, but it will be highly, highly desired. So yeah, I would definitely spend some time on it for sure. You're going to revamp your portfolio into React? That'd be fine. Yep. I would say have a couple of projects in React, like probably 2 or 3. Again, if you can reproduce something that you've already got, and do it again in React, I think that shows, because you've already solved the problem. You already know what the project is. You already know how to build that project. You just have to figure out how to use React for it. That'll make an easier project for you. I think you'll get up and running on it a little bit faster that way, instead of having to learn how to solve the problem and learn React at the same time. So take something you've already built and just build it again, but using React. Build it exactly the same way, but build it in React again. Cool. All right, we're gonna go right into Chrissy's channel, and we'll see y'all over there. Make some noise over there, and we'll see you again on Sunday. We got a guest coming in, so you can go check that out on the website, and we'll see you on Sunday. Have a great weekend, and stay safe, and we'll talk to you then.